Welcome to the Defining Her Story podcast, where we bring together amazing women to discuss hot topics and spotlight the accomplishments of women from all walks of life. How has parenting changed since we were kids? And what are the challenges today's youth are facing, and how are we as parents helping them deal with all of it? That's what our guests, Erin Mitchell, Nancy Sabino, and Leslie Richardson will be discussing today. And as a special treat, we'll be featuring his prospective guests, Angel Sabino and Kelly Mitchell.
So do we want to start over again? Okay.
Do you remember the whole speech?
Yeah.
I know. So for those of you who are joining us late, we were having some technical difficulties. It was a great discussion, and then the microphone didn't work, and we found out late. So just kidding. So real quick, what we're going to do is we're going to do an introduction with everybody real quick. We are thanking our fabulous location for being the location sponsor, as well as the patience of everybody who is here. Open Book Visual Productions is where we are at on location in Katy. I'm going to start over here to my left and let them introduce themselves.
My name is Kelly Mitchell. I am the co-owner with my wonderful and beautiful and amazing wife here of Open Book Visual Productions.
I liked having to do the second because he added another
We're
gonna keep You just threw amazing right in there.
Nice.
I am said beautiful, amazing, wonderful, all those things wife. And co-owner here at Open Book VP, and we do photo and video for families and business as well. So feel free to stop on by and give us a little stalk, and thank you for letting us host you guys. We're so happy to have you guys, and anytime you want to crash, by all means.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And I'm Leslie Richardson. I own Cruise Planners American Express as a franchise. I specialize in upscale travel experiences by land and sea. And I'm here today with my niece who's observing. She's 8 years old, so I'm excited to have her sit in and listen to this topic.
I am Nancy Sabino. I am the co-founder of Sabino CompTech, which is an awesome IT firm. And I'm here with my husband and co-founder.
Lovely, amazing.
Exactly.
I'm Angel Sabino. I'm the other co-founder of Sabino CompTech, and we're also here with our lovely, amazing children.
So if the lovely, amazing, and fabulous, and wonderful children could please give us a shout.
Konnichiwa.
There we go. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And again, the topic today is we're talking about parenting and just taking a look at parenting today versus the parenting that we grew up with and the kind of conscious things that we're trying to do within raising empowered girls and feminist boys. So remember, if you've got questions, comments, things like that, please be sure to put it in the comments. If you have people who you think would enjoy it, share it out. We always appreciate that. And so go ahead and Nancy, tell us real quick, like you had your comment earlier that nobody got to hear, but it was amazing, about your kind of take on how you're trying to do parenting today.
So for me, growing up, I often heard, you're a girl, you can't do this, so on and so forth, because of the type of parents that I had. And so very early on in my life, I had decided I'm not going to do certain things. Obviously, when you're growing up, you kind of take the things that you like and you leave the things that you don't. Mm-hmm. And so with my kids, I wanted to make sure that my daughter never heard, you can't do this or you can't do that. And the same thing for my son.
Very nice. And then Erin involved.
I did. I mentioned for anybody who's watching and knows me will definitely laugh at this because I completely banned Disney princess in my house when my first daughter was born. It was just not allowed. I did not want the first thing growing up, her first role models, to be princesses that were just waiting for their life to begin because a man, a prince, would swoop in and all of a sudden rescue them. They would have no more problems. Life would be perfect, and that was all they needed in their life to be successful, to be happy, to live the life that they were meant to live. And so it was out, gone. We didn't have toys. I didn't have videos. She had to watch very approved videos, and they were usually very strong heroine type of videos. She knew who Joan of Arc was when she was like 3.
Wow.
So I've definitely calmed down a little bit. Obviously, you're a little overprotective with your first kid. But yes, it was something very important to me, that I didn't want the most important thing in her life growing up to be a princess. I wanted there to be options. I wanted there to be diversity with what a strong woman role looks like, and not that it's the fainting or dying or sleeping or whatever it was that is always associated with Disney princesses. And luckily, some of those movies have come a long way, so
Yes.
we've got some options now. We've got Moana,
Right.
so Moana's welcome in our house. My 2-year-old son loves Moana. That was one of his favorite movies so far. So, and now Frozen too, and he loves Frozen, and I'm okay with those. They're still, but you know.
Well, that brings on an interesting conversation or question, because I was doing some research for this. I found an article written by a mom who has a son, and I think I had shared the link with everybody here on the panel. But she was talking about how like she was set, like she is going to raise her son as like this feminist boy. And so she was doing that, and like, you know, the storybooks, it's all girls and that kind of thing. And so, but she started bringing up the fact that like, essentially, like, when we do that, like banning Disney videos, are we swinging the pendulum too far in the other direction? You guys think that there's that possibility? You're like, nope, that's the way it needs. It's been this way for 1,500 years, so it needs to be the other way for 1,500 years. So just kind of, what are the thoughts that you guys have about that?
I think when we want to fix something that we felt was wrong or portrayed wrong, sometimes we go to people wrong. Even we tend to do something like that. Like, no, it's got to be completely in the opposite direction, because we're trying to figure out, how to counter it, and it almost seems like to counter it you have to go completely in another direction. And as time goes, or you have another kid, or you see other, you're exposed to more things, I think then you realize it is somewhere in the middle, or 75% of the way there, 60% of the way there. But I think we all have to make that mistake, or that choice, or that decision at some point in time, and then see where it lands after the fact.
Right.
There's also having exposure and exposing things, not only ourselves but our children and whatnot, to this is the way things were, and this is not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing, but this is kind of the direction that we're heading as a society, and these are the reasons for heading in this direction, because of we want to make changes, we want everybody to be better, we want everybody to be on the same page. So being able to use those as learning opportunities and learning moments for our children is very important.
So,
I'm sorry. I know I don't have children. I'm the one on the panel that doesn't
No,
have kids.
you're
That's right. We don't.
Okay.
Okay, exactly. But I will say I have a heavy hand in raising my niece, as she knows. I'm literally her second mom. She's 2 days. Her birthday's 2 days from mine, so we're very much alike. But a lot of it, I think, too, and having my mother was a teacher, and seeing how she handled us as her kids and her students as a teacher. To really exposing, just to piggyback on what you said, really exposing kids to a little bit of everything.
Right.
Because my niece was always into Disney and all the characters and things like that. But as far as like her dolls and the people that we take her around, she's gotten exposed to a little bit of everything. She's got dolls of like every kind of race. We got, when Black Panther came out, I'm like, we're going to go see that, because you got to go see these strong women who are like being the security in the movie. And just making sure that she understands it's not all princesses, and it's not all clouds and unicorns, what have you, rainbows and unicorns. So
clouds are nice too.
Yes, but she's, I think it's just very important to expose kids to everything, to a little bit of everything within reason.
Right.
But because it can only make them better.
Absolutely.
I think in general.
So absolutely. So are those? Wow. Brain farted. So I'm just like, I just
I
kind
heard
of.
somebody said the other day, brain burp. I like
Brain
that.
burp, that is.
I've always thought like, man, I'm on the
That's
phone,
a
I
little
think
bit
of a
more
brain
light.
fart, and I'm like, that's a weird brain burp.
I truly believe, like, I did coin the term brain fart, though. I'm just gonna say that. I've been saying it for a long time. No, but I'm just I'm interested in like you were saying, you know, like that we have to, like it seems like even as like society, like that it has to swing way out before it's like a pendulum. It swings way out and then it comes back in. But then, I mean, part of it too is like when you're doing things, how do you know when? Because again, I don't have kids. I mean, and I only ever worked with like junior high and high school because the littler ones scared the pants off of me, in all honesty. But it's just it's when can you start doing and explaining this is why things are the way that they are and why things are kind of changing and why we're doing things, and explaining that former history. You know, when is that a good time to do that?
We've been doing that since they were young, since they were itty bitty type of deal, and I think it's because questions will come up, especially when your household may not be the same as their friends or their cousins or what they see on TV and so on and so forth. So we started explaining those things very early on. Responsibilities aren't just on mom; they're on both mom and dad. They've seen, I mean, both of us take care of them equally, and both of us go to work equally, and so on and so forth. So I think for our kids, those conversations were happening much earlier on because they were noticing the fact that, you know, maybe our household is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so since day one, I think we were having those conversations.
We'd like to think of the kids as little people, just like any other person. So it was like we always thought we should talk to them like they're intelligent little people. So
and I think everybody on this panel who has kids, and it's including me with my niece, they're exposed to entrepreneurs as their parents, which puts us in a whole different category. I think
so too. Yeah,
it really does, because we're not 8 to 5.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, entrepreneurship in general is usually a little bit more encompassing than just 8 to 5, you know. And so they see, and so they're seeing us, you know, working at odd hours or doing things that, you know, someone else's parents probably aren't. So I think that has something to do with it.
More importantly, they're seeing us working.
Correct.
Right.
How many kids grow up and say, Mom, Dad, what do you do at work? Can I come see your work? No. My kids see what I'm doing.
And they're involved.
Yeah, they're involved.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And so they know how hard that we work. They know, you know, what we're doing when we're working. We're exposing them to the pros and the cons and the tears and
joy too.
Yes. Oh, that.
But I think it helps, especially seeing parents in business together in that case. My niece's parents own a restaurant together.
Awesome.
And so she's seeing both of that, you know, that side that is not just the husband or the dad. It's not just the mom. It's both.
Right.
And they're doing something different a little bit with the restaurant, but that she sees both of them really contributing and really working very, very hard. So I agree with you in that case.
Awesome. So let me ask you this, because it was I can't remember who brought this up, but it makes me kind of Nancy, you brought it up with you know, the noticing that, you know, maybe your household is a little different than everybody else's. So how different do you think it is? Because like I know, again, I'm not being a parent and have been out of the classroom a little bit, so I'm a little bit removed from that. But so seeing in research and statistics, like there's the Google does its own studies of like what people are searching on Google, and as recently as 2014, they saw that parents were Googling twice as often, is my son a genius, versus the same statement of, is my daughter a genius, being typed into Google and searched for. And so do you guys see within your scope of friends that are parents that they are, you know, are they following more? I'm not trying to, and please, like, don't like bash me or anything like that. Like, I'm not bashing the way that parents are parenting at all. It's an interesting kind of conversation to have. Do you see them doing the more traditional and the more, without even really thinking about it, this is just the way that I raise, and so I'm raising my kids this way, the gender stereotypes and that kind of thing. Do you guys see that? No?
I think it's definitely still very prevalent. Okay. It's very easy. And when you start raising kids, you don't even realize it. You always say, I'm not going to turn into my mother. You turn into your mother.
Yeah.
Whether that's good or bad,
right?
That's different for each person, but you do, because that's the only parenting that you saw.
Exactly.
So that's the only thing you know what to do. So when a situation pops up and you say, this happened. Well, this is the only solution that I've ever seen happen in my life, so I should probably try that solution.
Right.
But granted, you know, twist it and make it your own, hopefully. But I think it's just so much easier, and it makes sense as far as just human nature,
Right.
to simply follow how it's always been. And it's really easy to not question yourself or maybe your parents and actually get in there and put yourself out there and say, maybe that wasn't right. Maybe, you know, it's okay if my sons don't want to play sports, and maybe they just want to play chess, or, you know, maybe they're into video games or whatever it is, and that's still okay. And I think it's sometimes scary for parents to say, wait, but maybe how I was raised was wrong, or was not all the way right.
Or just not right for my kid.
Sure.
I think that's one thing that through parenting I've started to realize is just like people, kids are different. So you can't treat one kid the exact same as the other.
Right.
Because they're not the same person. Their likes and interests and so on and so forth are going to be different. So, you guys over here like,
It's like,
And they don't tell you that up front.
no, they don't come with a manual, unfortunately.
What's up with that? I thought they came with a manual. You guys don't have like that tattooed on the back or something like that? How to do, no?
I need parenting style A for this one and parenting style B for this one. And C, just throw it all up in the air because it's the baby anyway.
So do you guys find yourselves then unconsciously, like in the reflection of like, oh wow, like that, you know what I'm saying? Like just kind of like, oh wow, like I see where I have like, you know, I talk, and when I'm talking with my adult friends and the things that I believe and stuff like that, like I'm really wanting to do X, Y, Z, like, you know, breaking the gender stereotypes or whatever it is, but then falling back on that kind of unconscious way of doing things.
So I grew up with a single mom for the majority of my life. She's a very strong woman. And my entire family's full of nothing but very strong women. So I never got the sports or machismo or like that part of growing up literally did not exist.
Right.
Which is strange because I'm from a Dominican Hispanic culture, and normally it is very male machismo, but the women in my family just wouldn't let that happen.
So they went to the other side of the extreme,
Well, you know, and even then, it's the cool part about it, the way I grew up, especially being an adult and looking back on it, is none of the women in my family are also, I don't know what the word is, because I think of men being too dominant and it's machismo. I don't know if there's a word for women. Like,
interesting.
Because I don't know if
generally
that
called
exists.
bossy.
The women in my family just weren't like that. It was very, you know, equality driven in the sense that we're strong, there's mutual respect. Like everyone should just mutually respect each other, and if they didn't, get the hell out.
That means the women in your family were feminists when all was said and done.
Yes.
I had no idea.
Not everyone uses that word, but that's what it is.
So growing up,
There is a word for it.
I mean, that's what it is. You know, a lot of people put a different connotation on it, but
ultimately speaking, now that I know more,
when you just describe that, I'm like,
well, yeah, because it is.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of people too don't like to use the word feminist because I think when feminism first, like that whole feminist movement that came out in the 70s, again, it was that pendulum swinging all the way over to the side to feminists are man haters and all of the burn the bras and everything like that. And
Girl,
so that's the topic for another day. But you know, so it swung that other way, and it just where I think that feminism has shifted more towards the moderate of like, you know, this is all about equality for everyone, because in all honesty, I mean, that was when feminism, I don't know why I did air quotes, when feminism first started, like with Susan B. Anthony and the suffragettes, it was a movement for equality for all. And that's why even when the Civil War came about, and that was pretty much timing-wise, it was the same time that they were fighting for women's rights to vote. And they're like, this is happening. We're going to take essentially that argument off the table and fight for the equal rights of all, because surely when we have the equal rights for the African Americans that are here, our rights will get swooped into it, and then
Like it should all mean the same.
Yeah, exactly. It should all be the same because
Human
we're
rights.
all
Human
people.
rights.
Exactly. So, and it didn't. So it's interesting to see then like it kind of following, like it all follows all things where we're trying to do changes, where it's parenting and that kind of thing, where we end up doing that swing and bringing it back. So like one of the things too that I saw, and you had brought up like boys playing chess and stuff like that, and so just wondering too, like with parents, like where do you, how do we find a way to do, because your daughter's a teenager, and they're actually yay.
Can you take a deep breath right there?
But the fact that like teen girls are 6 times more likely to drop out of sports than boys between junior high and high school, and a lot of it has to do with confidence levels and things like that, but it also has to do with like pressures with home and things. So what I kind of want to ask is, because I know you guys have younger kids, and now that you're like potentially getting there, it's like when your kid wants to, how do you know when your kid wants to drop out, to figure out why they're wanting to drop out, and when to push and encourage, and when to be like, okay, just gonna let you do your thing.
We talk to our kids.
Yeah.
And that's the best way, like what I said earlier, is we try to treat them like they're people. So if I don't like something, I want to try it, I want to do it. If I committed to it, then I'm going to at least finish my commitment and then reflect on it and decide, do I want to continue doing it? So if one of the kids signs up for something, it's like, all right, this is it. We have that conversation in front of it. This is the commitment, huh?
Yearbook.
Yearbook.
Out.
So she wanted to try it.
Did you make a commitment though?
She
Okay.
did.
She did.
Okay, there you go.
You know,
And you're honoring it, so that's good.
Yeah, so it's a lot of either getting up early to go shoot for things, or staying after school to shoot for things, or us driving her around to go. She's on top of all the other stuff she's doing. But it's like you can't just give up halfway through and be like, I don't like this, I'm going to fail the class. Like, well, you signed up for it. There's other people relying on you to do this, so finish it out and then make your decision.
Yeah.
But it's her choice.
Right.
I think the hardest thing when it comes to what they're wanting to do and not do and so on and so forth, for me, comes to, do you want to do this, or are you wanting to do this for other reasons?
Right.
So are you following the crowd, or so on and so forth? So trying to pull that answer out is sometimes a little difficult. But a lot of the times, both of them have been very honest with themselves and decided, okay, well, this isn't right for me, or I will just try it another time, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So
those are all very true, and kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, it is about exposure too, where we try to push. I try to push something as far as your mind goes. Do something that stimulates your mind, whether it's art, whether it's music. Do something for your body, whether it's some sort of athletic, whether it be football, baseball, dance, ballet, whatever it is. Do something for your mind. Do something for your body. Do something for your spirit or soul. And just kind of find something in those veins, and so that's where we're trying to push our older kid, and that's what I want to do with the 2 younger kids, is just find something to do in those areas. And similar to what he said, it's if you make a commitment to something, stick with it, finish it out, and then after it's done, we can try to move on and expose you to something else and see whether or not that's your cup of tea.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, by the way, these questions are going out to those of you who are in the audience as well, especially those of you who have parents. No.
Our parents.
Our parents. Thank you. You have children.
Parents?
I personally was hatched, so. They're like, angels over here, like, he's just met me today at Sam Skelly, and they're like, oh, that's it. Now it all makes sense. But just asking you guys too is like, what are the ways that are impacting how you make your parenting decisions as well? Because I know for me, like, I'm always, God bless my mom, I'm always calling, like something happens and I'm calling my mom. It's like you were saying, it's like that's the default, is finding out how did my mom do it, and then it's kind of like, oh well, that's maybe not the direction that I wanted to go, that kind of thing, and so and just wondering though, like because it seems like we've got like a consensus of ideas here. I'm just wondering, like within our live audience, or like if you're watching the replay, do you think things, and this is for you guys too, like, do you guys think that things have gone too far in certain circles that like, oh no, like we're doing this and we're more moderate, and there's some too far, situations where like that's the pendulum really just, getting ready to break the chain.
I think you can always find extreme cases.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, there's always going to be the extreme, and there's always going to be the 5% that's the loud, that they're going to grab the headlines and the attention, and that's what's going to be splashed on the news because that's what people love when they watch the news, apparently. But I think for most people, they take it back, and it, for a lot of people, and I think especially for us, is it comes back to being good people. Mm-hmm. It comes back to being, doing the right thing for not only ourselves, but for our kids and for our neighbors, for our friends, for our community, for the schools, for everything. So,
and leading by example is huge.
Right.
You can say a lot of things, but kids will watch you way more than they listen.
Yes, that's the truth.
Yes.
And they will repeat what you say. They will repeat the actions you do. When you drop that F-bomb just one time, that's the only one they're going to
realize the only one. And like, I can do it now too. Yeah.
Well, that goes back to, sorry, I totally interrupted you. That goes back to, how you'll eventually turn into your mom kind of thing. Well, eventually you are modeling the behavior that they will eventually come back to when they're in the situations that you're currently in.
Mm-hmm. Yes, mirror, mirror on the wall, I am my mother after all.
Yeah. And I just say too, observing other people. Mm-hmm. Because you do meet some parents who are to the extreme, especially when their kids get to be teenagers, because they're trying to. They know what they did as a teenager, and maybe it wasn't all good, so they're trying to control a little too much. Yeah. And I see it when people try to control it a little too much, saying you can't do this, this, and this, or I'm going to make you do this, and this. One extreme or the other. You can end up losing that kid, because they will be rebellious by nature, because that's the age that you do that, right?
Right.
And so I guess that's another thing to consider for the teenagers. To obviously talking to your kids, I would imagine, is the best way to go. Really having that open conversation versus just saying versus just mandating something. Right. And then that teenager is going to go do something opposite because out of spite or whatever, and that's how people get in trouble.
I'm grateful that you said that because I know for sure I do that from time to time, and that's where having a partner to tell you, hey, you're being a little too crazy. Comes into not those words exactly, but that's where it's very helpful because he definitely helps me reflect and kind of think about like, am I pushing onto her what I did or what or how I reacted or however, or am I doing this because it's actually a good thing for her? So I think having a partner for that is absolutely helpful. My mom didn't have that when I was growing up, so I think it makes a huge difference. And we've been together since we were teenagers, so I think some of that is also helpful.
You remember when? You remember
we
when?
do that a lot to each other. It's, but do you remember when you were that age? Because
I do.
Keeping you honest.
Yeah, exactly.
So, are there any parenting trends that you are excited to see have gone away?
That's a good question.
I'll be honest, I feel like there has not been enough of a trend changing when it comes to how things, and I say this because of what I was saying earlier. I didn't grow up with any machismo in my world at all, so I don't get it. I still think there's too much of that. And it's just, it's a human nature kind of thing. It's too easy to revert back to it. Right. Because of what we see, because of what we know, because of what we read, because of shows, everything. Everything is based around this box. And it continues to bother me. And I don't push it on my son because I want him to do it. If he wants to be, a sports star, then he can be a sports star. I'll go to the games and I'll enjoy it with him. Yeah. But if he wants to be a ballerina, it makes no difference to me. Like, I just don't see it. And I still think there's too much of that on the boys' side of things. It's like you have to, if you don't like these things, then you must be a wimp. And to me, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like I grew up, I played sports because my mom thought that's what I needed to do. Right. I was also a little portly, so it helped. but I didn't like it, you know. And when I could finally make that choice, I stopped.
Right.
And, you know, I like video games, and I like technology, and I like reading, and I used to write poetry and do artwork. That's what I like.
Right.
And I never thought that was a problem. And she didn't think it was a problem either.
Yeah.
She just thought I needed to experience certain things, so that's fine. But I didn't grow up thinking that stuff was an issue, and I think it's still seen as an issue. People still look at little boys that want to, you know, be in art or play video games or, you know, write poetry, and they're like, why would you want to do that? Don't you want to do this? You know, you're not being a man if you're not doing that.
See, that's what I was going to ask you.
Doesn't make sense to me.
So that's what I was going to ask you, is because a lot of times too, what I think parents set out to do, and the other adults around kids set out to do is we're telling our girls, you know, you can be anything that you want to be. Same thing with our boys, you can be anything you want to be, and that's great within the family bubble. But then when they get out to college, and they get out into the workforce, and they're bumping up against those society things, then it's like, so how are you then equipping your kids? Like, what are the things that you do to equip your kids to recognize that isn't you? There isn't a problem with you. It's a problem in this situation that you're hitting up, and how to deal with that. Because I think that's what's happening. That's what I felt like I saw a lot when I was teaching junior high and high school. That I'm talking to the parents and like, I'm telling my daughter she can do anything she wants to do and that kind of stuff or whatever. She comes home, she's sad, she's this, and it's because she's bumping into those things that society's telling her, no, you can't do that. You know, that's not the way girls look. That's not the way that girls dress. It's not the way that boys. Those aren't the things that boys do. Mm-hmm. So how do we? Because they're at some point like we've got to break that cycle of that. And so how are we equipping our kids today to deal and move through that?
It's giving them really the skills to do it on their own when they're older. It's questioning why. Mm-hmm. Why can you not do this? Why should you do this? It's not, you can do anything you want because I told you. No, it's not because I told you. It's because you're a human being. Mm-hmm. And that's what you deserve, but that's what everybody deserves. Not everybody's going to treat every human being right. Mm-hmm. And it's your job to make sure that you do your due diligence, you do your research. Mm-hmm. Is it correct? You know, is the law or rule, is it lawful to the human race? Mm-hmm. Or is it lawful to, to actual laws? And if it's not, then what are you going to do about it? And it's being able to equip them to question why these things are in place, and should they be in place, and should we do something about it going forward to change that? And it's not necessarily saying these are the things you can do and can't do, but you've got to get that behind. You've got to get that why, so they can do it for themselves and then pass that on. Mm-hmm. Because once they go off to school or they go off to real life, they're not going to call me and say, Mom, somebody says I can't do everything I want to. But not just that, but they're going to have friends, and they're going to have people that they're dating that maybe were not exposed to this.
Right.
And so it's my job to make sure that I'm a ripple. I'm just the drop, and my kids are the ripple, and they need to continue out with these types of, this mentality of, general equality. Because I think, women hear it all the time, you're empowered, you can do anything, but we're starting to lose our sons a little bit. Mm-hmm. And,
absolutely, yeah.
They're not being told they can do everything because it's that pendulum again.
Yeah.
And you know what? Boys have that problem just the same because they still have a box that they're being put in. Maybe they can get ahead a little bit more than women in certain places, but being told that constantly is not letting anybody go ahead. So it's getting them out. They need to be able to teach it. They need to be able to speak intelligently on it. They need to be able to meet people like this panel, like I bring my kiddo around to a lot of our meetings and stuff, and she's involved in everything I am too, so I want her to see it not just from Mom, it's not just here, so that whenever she leaves the house, she knows she will find allies somewhere. She just has to go seek them out, and it's power in numbers and changing things.
Definitely, I think it's and you bring it up for sons as well, because I can't imagine, and while I definitely believe that the Me Too movement needs to have happened, and it's bringing to light a lot of things that are have been happening for too long. I think again we've got that possibility that the pendulum is going to swing in a negative way for young men who are growing up. and it being a place of just kind of like, I'm not like that. How do I fit in? What can I do? And really making sure that we're equipping our young men today of like, no, you're right. You're not somebody who fits in that box or whatever, and how to deal with society who might immediately view them as that.
So I think it's a hard thing, but we try to tell our kids that words are only as powerful as the strength you give them. So we talk about things at home all the time because we like to treat the kids like they're little people. So I feel like they should know that when they go out into the world, or at least we tell them when they go out into the world, because it's going to happen. They're going to have friends, family, other people that they're going to be exposed to. They're going to say things, and if it sounds stupid, if you think it's stupid, if it's completely against everything that you feel your world is based around, don't give it any power. At that point in time, it's like, oh, you're dumb, I'm done. To me, it's that simple.
Yeah.
And that's what we do to show our kids, like, you don't have to give these people that power just because they said something. Oh, you're a pansy because you like to draw. Oh, well, you're stupid. That's it. We're done.
I always tell my kids, just punch them in the throat and move on.
Nerdy Girl Success does not enforce that message. As a disclaimer, I'll have to have that in the podcast as well. Just kidding. No, but those are, and again, this is a conversation that I know that we could continue for quite some time. But I know that we all have, it's a Saturday, we all have things that we need to go and get done. So I want to give an opportunity to, you guys, do you have anything that's coming up here with Open Book Visual Productions that you want to let people know about? Or
well, we're kind of going to have an official launch, because we're not even official launch. Our timeline got all kinds of wackadoodle, and so we are going to have an official launch this spring, so we're really excited about that. We're introducing our legacy videos, which are so amazing, and they're so heartfelt for us, I think, to create, but I think it's just such a wonderful thing that what we're able to do is come in and we can tell your loved one's story, and we can record it on video in their own words, how they grew up, where they grew up, their jokes, their mannerisms. So that's one of our favorite products that we're really kind of going to be introducing this year. But definitely look out for the launch, because we'll have all kinds of fun, crazy things. We'll have you guys come down to the studio, and we want to learn about your story so that we can help you tell it to the generations to come.
Nice. And by the way, they do have a Facebook page, so make sure that you like the Facebook page so you can stay up to date with that. And Angel and Nancy, do you guys have any cool, because they do they're an IT firm and wicked awesome. So do you guys have any specials or things like that? Because a lot of people who are watching us probably are also entrepreneurs and have businesses. So anything you want to let them know about?
Well, one thing that has been going around lately is a lot of talk about cybersecurity and all that stuff. So if you own a business and you would like a free evaluation of your current setup, I'd be happy to do that.
Awesome. And it is fabulously cold today, and all I could think about was someplace else warm to be, which, by the way, Leslie can help you out. So I'm just wondering,
I love that.
Is that not a nice segue or not? But is there any kind of cruise specials, that kind of thing?
There's always specials.
Okay.
But I will say this is what's considered busy season in the travel industry.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or wave season in the cruise industry. And so there's a ton of ridiculous specials happening right now.
Okay.
Because it's the time of the year where most people plan their summer vacation, or all the way up to to Christmas and New Year's, to be honest with you. And so some cruise lines are giving away over credit. There's some river cruise lines giving away free air to Europe.
Wow.
There's a lot of opportunity right now. So if you're thinking about booking a vacation, now is the time.
And she is the person to call. Just saying. And just real quick, I'm letting you guys know a couple of things that's happening with Nerdy Girl Success. On Friday, March 8th, which is International Women's Day, we are having a women's conference at the Hotel Island. We're talking about power and money, and that's also our annual fundraiser, so I'd love for you to be able to join us there. And also launching on March 8th is the Leadership magazine, which Erin and Kelly's daughter is a part of, she is the contributing photographer for that, so you're going to want to see her amazing photography. And I was going to say, and Nancy has done a great book review in there as well. So you want to be sure to check those out. I hope you guys have a fabulous day. And now you get to see me walk to the camera. So everybody have a fabulous day, and thank you so much.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Defining Her Story podcast. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and review. These help us get found by amazing listeners just like you. If you have a topic you'd like us to discuss, let us know. Just send us a text at 954-637-3475. You can also head on over to nerdygirlsuccess.com to see what events we have coming up and to see about bringing them to your area. Thank you to our sponsors of this podcast, Wooshka and WeVideo. Music for this podcast provided by bensounds.com.